Good
Good
morning.
morning. Thanks for talking with us this morning.
Okay, everybody. Hi. Thank you for joining us for yet another weekly coffee. My name is Jasmine Brand. I'm your host this morning. I hate to say host because that seems formal, but my mom said she said I'm sounding too casual on these. This is why I don't invite her actually for these, because they're supposed to be very informal and no structure. And I invited her. She attended one of these and gave me all kinds of tips and things I needed to work on. Completely the opposite effect of what this is supposed to be about. But then I did it, so so it worked. My name is Jasmine, and thank you so much for joining us. We started hosting these as a response to just my own personal challenges with COVID. I already dealt with anxiety. I've been an entrepreneur for a decade and some change, and have always dealt with anxiety and stress in general, but COVID has cranked things up a notch, and I was having troubles. And I started talking to so many people who were also having challenges and said, let's just start having a coffee chat. I also, too, I'm an introvert, which people never believe. And I say it every week because I have to challenge this thing. Thank you, Joy. I have to tell people every week because they do not believe me because I'm loud, but I'm still an introvert. So I would go days when I'm just only talking to clients. And after a while, I was like, I miss having some connections with people. And yes, Zoom is annoying, but it is the best tool for us, right? So these conversations are always 45 minutes because we have stuff to do. And I wanted to see, can we end the week with purpose and a little self-care and some bite-size, I would say inspiration, but sometimes inspiration fades, right? So as soon as we get some bad news or something happens, that inspiration's out the window. That book, the quote, the spoken word is gone. So I actually like to leave with some strategies to take with us. And so that was the impetus behind this coffee chat. Before we get started, I introduce you to our guest, and we are talking about fears and insecurities today. And it's something, I don't care where you are on the spectrum of gender, age, race, where you at your career, fears and doubts are something we all deal with. And this pandemic, I know it's affected a lot of us. This topic of imposter syndrome, which a lot of people may not know about, is a huge thing for women. A lot of us, founders, entrepreneurs, business people of color, and it's this idea of not feeling like you belong, even though you have worked your butt off and deserve to be there. This nagging doubt, and so we'll tackle that in a little bit. But before we get started, just to let you know, you can keep your camera off the whole time. You can turn it on whenever you want. If you can stay with us till 9, great. If you have to pop off, totally fine. This is just a kind of safe space at the end of the week for you to come on and leave. Good morning, Claudia. For you to come on and hopefully get some bite-sized nuggets and see some new people. So before we get started, we had a breathwork expert. She was from Israel that joined us for one of these coffee chats. And she talked about the power of our breath and how so much toxins are in there. So what I want to do before we get started on this topic that might be a little deep for some of us is to kind of get some breathing in, if we can do that. So what I want you to do is an exercise that she's done with us, and I want you to breathe in for 4, hold it for 4, and let it out for 4. The only thing I ask you to do, and if you want to mute it, you can, is for when you let it out, let it all out. Now, I don't know, hopefully you guys don't have anybody asleep that's around you, but it's the letting out part, because we walk around holding all these toxins in. So let's try this. We're going to do it twice if we can. Are you guys ready? We're going to try this before we start our conversation. So if you're ready, let's go ahead and try. So let's go ahead and breathe in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. Let it out. 2, 3, 4. Now, to let it out purposely, you need to make a real ugly, crazy face. So if you want to turn your camera off, you can. But I'm meaning, like, you got to get all that. And also the thing my mom says, she said I shouldn't be saying shit this early in the morning too. But you got to let all that shit out. So it's going to have your ugly face, but you feel so much better. So let's try to do it again, not being cute, okay? All right, let's try it one more time. Let's start breathing in. 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. Out. 2, 3, 4. Yes, much better, much better. Okay, and then we keep the weight of the world literally and figuratively on our shoulders. Okay, good, you're a cusser too? Yes. And you know the anxiety I have between Cash and my mother, Cash coming in here and barking, and my mother popping on. My mother is 5. I think she's 5'2", but she tells me she's 5'3.5". I'm still afraid of her. Showing up and popping up. Okay, so we carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. So before we start, if we can kind of loosen this up a little bit, we're just going to turn our head to the right and left a little bit, just to kind of loosen that up. And then put your head down for a little bit, and then lift it up. And then just loosen your shoulders a little bit, just because I carry that. And sometimes I catch myself typing, right? I catch myself typing like this. Horrible. So just loosening that up. Okay. So today's conversation, as I mentioned, is about overcoming fears and doubts. And so if you guys could, in the little chat box, tell me, first of all, temperature read on where you are right now on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being amazing Beyonce level, actually Sasha Fierce level, that's the 10. And 1 being Jasmine, you should be glad I'm even here. How are you feeling right now from when it comes to your own stress and anxiety? 1, not good. 10, fabulous. Let us know over in the chats kind of where you are, just so we can get a temperature read. And also Akilah can see if y'all all at 1s or 2s, she can prepare what she's talking about. Because if we're at 1s or 2s, Akilah, we should have told everybody to bring mimosas, not coffee. Okay. I know, right, Jackie? Ugh, we walk around holding that stuff in. We had this breath work on expert. I'm gonna have her back on. She was amazing because we just walk around with so much stress. Okay, let's see where we're at. 4, 6. Okay, 6. I'm kind of with you guys. 5, 6, 5. Okay, halfway good. Okay, not bad. Okay, Andrea is living it up today and fabbing at 8, so she needs to give us the sequence. Actually, she's always bubbly and amazing too, so this is probably 5, 7. Okay, this is not bad. All right. And if you were at a 1 or 2, it's okay. I was at a 1 yesterday, so let you know that if you're a 10, I love the fact that you're the 10. If you're at the 1, this too shall pass. I would love to actually have the joy. I'll reach out to you about that. Okay, Akilah Wallace is our special guest today. I sometimes host these chats by myself, but with certain topics, I like to bring people on, and I am very intuitive about things, and I will hit up people last minute at night, in the morning when I get an idea. And this is kind of what I did with Akilah. Akilah, I don't know if I see her all the time, and I laugh at her posts, but she says some amazing things, and I follow her organization. But I don't think we've talked in a while, and this is what I do. I just stalk people, and I'm like, hey girl, what's up? Hey, I'd like you to speak. But something told me about Akilah without us even talking about it, because I have followed her forever, and I know her career. And my gut told me that she could talk to us about this idea of overcoming fears and doubts, because we all have them. But Akilah, can you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about Faith in Texas, because I knew a little bit about the organization. Then of course I started researching more, and I saw your article. Congratulations this week, Dallas Smart News. If you guys haven't seen it, Akilah's looking very first lady-like in the picture. Very, very Michelle in the picture, looks amazing. But the article is fantastic, and it's talking about Black philanthropic efforts. But can you tell us a little bit about your career and Faith in Texas, and then we'll kind of dive into the convo.
Of course. Hey, good morning, everyone. So I just included a link to a recent feature in Dallas Doing Good, where I pretty much lay out my career path from when I arrived in Columbus. From Columbus here in the DFW area back in 2016, and kind of the trajectory of my career. So I won't speak through all of that. So I've already have it kind of in written form. But ultimately, like I just mentioned, I was born and raised in Columbus, Ohio. Grew up with my parents and my younger sister, she's 5 years younger than me, and just had a really great life. And so, and also I'm the mother of 2 amazing sons, Jace, who is 11 years old and is going into the 6th grade, as well as Jamil, who is my man child. He is 20 years old. He works as a licensed insurance agent and tax preparer, as well as is finishing up his associate's degree at Mountain View College, and is looking to transfer to Texas Southern University sometime in 2021. So yay, love my people. But do y'all hear that lawn? Sorry, my neighbors decided they want to cut their grass right now. But also, I think it's important to note that as part of my story, I went to college at Wright State University in Dayton, Ohio, and was definitely on a 4-year track to get my degree in business, sales, and marketing. But then got pregnant with my wonderful Jamil my junior year. Matter of fact, that first semester of my junior year. And from there, I ended up having to leave and go back home so that I could take care of my son. And since then, I have been enrolled in, I don't know how many colleges and universities, including DeVry and everybody else, for the last about 20 years, trying to complete this bachelor's. I most recently enrolled at UNT Dallas down in Oak Cliff, and was working to obtain my bachelor's in human services and leadership management. And ultimately, when I was called to become the executive director of Faith in Texas, I ended up having to, again, just kind of put that on pause so that I could really focus on that new role. But going back, you asked about kind of like my career trajectory. I mean, after I had Jamil and was, again, trying to figure things out, one of my best friends, Dawn Dixon, who is the founder of Popcom, if anyone's familiar with that tech company. She's definitely known nationally and internationally for her efforts as a Black woman in raising kind of the first $1 million through individual crowdfunding efforts for her tech work. But that's my best friend.
She's up to 2 million now.
Yeah, she just did another round.
Yeah.
And so she was able to go ahead and finish school. But when I got pregnant with Jamil, she was like, "Aren't you in school for marketing?" I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "Okay, well, I'm starting this company. Can you come help with our marketing?" And so she started, along with another good friend of ours, Brandon Kraft, the urbanstar.com, which was a kind of the first urban online event site back in like 2001, 2, something like that. It was a while ago. And so that was kind of like my opportunity to like no one, like, so what, you didn't have a kid and you had to drop out. Like, I know you took some courses and you've learned something. You was a junior. So let's go ahead and put in that learning and start just doing it. And so that was kind of my first like push to just be like, all right, let's get out here and make it happen. And from there, I ended up working for a Black newspaper in Columbus called the Columbus Post. And then fast forward, I ended up having the opportunity to transfer to Dallas in 2006. I'm working for JP Morgan Chase as an executive assistant for the default mortgage division. And so that's what brought me to DFW, along with, it was some personal story that's related to that. So anyone who knows me knows that story, and anyone's really just interested in the way that I, as a single mother, made the decision to call my son's father and say, I think he should be raised by you. And he was living here in Texas, that I kind of sent my child off across the country to live with his dad while I was still in Ohio. But ultimately, I ended up finding my way here. And then for many years, I worked as an executive assistant from JP Morgan Chase to then going to the city of Dallas and working in the economic development department, being the EA to the director and assistant directors there in that department. And then it was during the recession, they started taking our money. They was furloughing. And I didn't like that. I don't like losing money. And so I was like, this isn't working. And also I was seeing the inner workings of politics, and I wasn't feeling that either. And I definitely was having some moments where pretty much it was kind of like, you probably should leave before you say the wrong thing. Again, I'm a rebel like that. And so but also I was new to the area still, and it was like, don't mess up your career. So I was looking into nonprofits because I'd always volunteered on like boards and committees. And so I said, wait a minute, there's people who work for nonprofits. And so I looked into some jobs, and I ended up landing my first nonprofit role over at Dallas Area Habitat for Humanity. And one of my dear colleagues and former managing directors there, Andrea Anderson, is on here. I'm so excited to see her in this space, because she was one of the Black women, like her office was across from mine, who like kept me encouraged. And it was also in those conversations and being there that I first was like noticing the development team and was like, so what do they do? And really inquiring around like, so what is it? And I want to lift up, it was all white women. But I was just really interested in what they were doing, and I was assisting the CEO, so I had to kind of manage his relationships and kind of steward many of the major donors. It was there that I was like, oh, I want to I have an interest in, I want to do fundraising because I had worked in sales and marketing before when I was at the Black newspapers and when I was with the Urban Star that the company Don started. And I remember talking to Andrea and I was just kind of like, oh, I want to do that. But we had a very honest conversation. There was no trajectory for me there. Like the expectation of a fundraiser, the type of background and networks and all those things, like it just was kind of like, I don't think this is where that's going to happen, is here. Ultimately, I ended up getting opportunity to then go work for the Dallas Women's Foundation. I was Rosalind Dawson Thompson's first executive assistant. And it was there that working in that foundation space and around so many amazing and brilliant women and leaders here in the Dallas-Fort Worth market that I was like, okay, I found my people. But it was also there that there was folks who were willing to invest in my interests in understanding philanthropy, understanding, and honing on, fundraising skills and just being able to be in the room. I mean, your admins and executive assistants are the second most powerful person in your organization or companies, period. I don't care what anyone else says. You can have SVPs and all that, but
I call him the gatekeeper, Akila, the gatekeeper.
Yeah, you get to see everything, like all the emails, all the documents, I mean, the conversations, because you're in there making note, you're the one coordinating all of the meetings, like they got to go through you. So there's the pleasantries. People of power, they know, hello, Akila, like they're going to be good to me as the executive assistant because they need to get through me to get to ultimately the CEO. But also it was there that I was able to build up my career. I started as the executive assistant. Then I became the executive assistant / volunteer manager. Then it became executive assistant / development assistant. And then ultimately I ended up learning that they was going to be hiring for a donor relations manager. And I remember they was getting ready to post it publicly. And I looked at the job description and I said, wait, but I think I can do all this. Like, I'm the one who's been managing all these relationships. And so I went to one of the VPs, I expressed my interest, and she said, okay, well then work on your pitch for Roz. And I remember literally having to go home and really laying out, looking at the job description and laying out this banging proposal as to why, or case for support, for those of us in the fundraising space, why I felt like I was the best candidate and why they should don't even be out here looking for anybody else. You got what you need right here. If anyone's interested in ever seeing that, I still have that because it was pretty well done. I did my pitch. Ross was like, wow, you went over and beyond, but all right, well, cool. So I ended up becoming the donor relations manager, and that's where I really began to engage with many of the wealthiest women in this area, overseeing our donor relations with our Women Moving Millions, our board alumna, past presidents, our 19th Society, which was the giving society that got started, while I was there, and the likes. But I also started learning about giving circles, which is a whole nother context. And then ultimately, sorry, am I going too long? I know we only got a few minutes.
No, you're good. I was going to say, can you tell us about, because I know was when you went to Faith in Texas, was it directly from the Dallas Women's Foundation, now the Texas Women's Foundation?
Yes. So I wasn't looking to leave for the most part. I was pretty comfortable there. But in 2016, that was the first uprising of Black Lives Matter. That was the year where Alton Sterling was killed, Fernando Castile. That summer also you had the Dallas police shootings that took place here that summer. But also on June 1st of that year of 2016, my family suffered a very tragic and unexpected loss of my first cousin, who was shot and killed back home in Columbus, Ohio. And it was during that summer, because of all the turmoil, that I was really deeply reflecting on just what was happening and on my cousin's life. And ultimately I started to think through some of the potential barriers that I ultimately realized that he was facing as a formerly incarcerated Black man in this country. And so it was because of that I started to inquire and really look into the criminal justice organizations. And I found Faith in Texas because they were having an event at my church, which was Concord Church. And I attended an event. I saw how they were interacting with folks, kind of the, activity that they were doing. And I was like, wow, this is a really, safe and healing space. I ended up becoming a donor. And let me say this for everyone, it's like, ooh, she became a donor. She dropped that check. No, I think I just maybe start giving like $20 every paycheck, because what I do know is that every dollar is meaningful to any organization. And then later I learned that they received funding to be able to build up the organization, because at the time it was only like maybe 2-3 people, and they were going to be hiring for a development director. And so I applied and got the development director position in November 2016, and then 2 years later was invited to step up to become the interim executive director, and then ultimately the permanent executive director.
So let's talk about, let's please, I mean, that's amazing, right? That your career, and I didn't even know all of your career. That's amazing, Keela. You should, that sounds like a book and a movie for sure.
Got some drama in there.
Yes, but that's usually the best stories, all right? So let's talk about how fear and insecurities have played a role, because with all those different changes and pivots, and we had a conversation about pivoting and what happens with that. Let's talk about insecurities and doubt. As you all are listening to kind of this question, we want to leave with this conversation with some thoughts about how to overcome it, of course. But think about how fear and insecurities continue to play a role in your career, your business. Even sending out emails. I talked about this previously before. And how you communicate, how you ask for money, how you negotiate, how you present the case for support, as Akila says. So think about how insecurities still continue to affect the way you move and navigate in your own career. Akila, with so many different role changes, and I bet even just being exposed to that wealthy donor base at Texas Women's Foundation, and now at the leadership role of this incredible organization, Faith in Texas. Can you talk about how insecurities, doubts, and this idea of imposter syndrome, how has it played a role for you, and how have you overcome it? Or is it something you're still dealing with?
Yeah, so I definitely have had quite a few moments where the imposter syndrome has shown up in my life, before, these books and stuff. You didn't have a name for it, but here I just shared how there was a significant period where I was the support person. I was the go-to. I was there to make sure everyone else looked good, period. And I took that very seriously, and I was good at it. So, but then for, the unexpected call for me to step up and be the executive director, that wasn't part of my trajectory. I was kind of just looking at, the way in which I possibly became a major gifts officer, and really just became like a major fundraiser. And, the ultimate, I can't wait till I can close, that $1 million donation, those things. So when the board contacted me in October of 2016, I was not ready for, not 18. I was like, wait a minute, who? Sorry. And I'm gonna be, look, I was completely caught off guard. And I called, there was 4 or 5 women that I immediately called. My mentor, Dr. Francois Booker Drew, my other mentor, Halima Lee Francis, both of whom are co-founders along with me for Heritage Giving Fund, the Black Women's Giving Circle. I called Erica Flood Moultrie. If you don't know Erica, write her down and look up her company, Connect 3. She had been a leadership coach in my life for several years, as well as I called my girlfriend, Danita Lacking Quinn, because she's in PR, and I just wanted to make sure that, because imposter syndrome, I was like, let me get this PR person on board. I said, because in case people start, trying to go hard, who is she? Why she's not qualified? What, so I needed I figured I'd get a PR person to help shut that down or whatever, right? So I called her. I really felt that it was that major that, I was, let me call a PR person. And then I called my mama, because I was like, Mom, so I'm gonna need you to come live with me, because this was also not temporarily, because it was right in the middle of the midterm elections. So I had to call my girls, and honestly, I called them to thinking they was gonna be like, you right, that's too much. Yeah, I don't know, we've talked, your path is X, Y, Z. Man, they made me so mad, because every single one of them was like, oh my God, this is your time. You got this, girl. Yes, they was cheerleading. And I said, what about your friends? I really thought y'all was gonna talk me out of this. So again, imposter syndrome. It just didn't even occur to me that I was supposed to become the executive director of anybody's organization, because that was never anything I wanted.
Did you ever though, but Akilah, so did you ever think of yourself in this leadership? Because one of the things I was telling a friend of mine about you was, and I did say a bull in the China shop, because even in your different roles, there was a fire there that I saw. That's why your friends were gassing you up, because it's like, we've been waiting on this because you've had it all along. It's kind of like, what is that, Cinderella? When she said you had it all along, it's still early. She's like, you've always had, when she was the brat, she was like the poor, and then she got to be the princess at the thing. And then she's like, you were this princess the whole time. Like, what, you didn't feel like you were ready for a leadership role? Or is it just the idea is it identification? When we talk about imposter syndrome, mentorship is so important. So my dad, when I was little, I had my first business at 7. And so he told me all the time, Jasmine, you should be running your whole thing. So my mind, even though I didn't know what I was doing, I just assumed I was supposed to take charge and do stuff. I was bossy. But like in my mind, it had been printed in there that you're going to be a leader. When everyone around you believes this to be, but you're the person that does it, is it because you didn't have, is it identity situation, or is it mentorship, or what do you think it is?
I think it was identity. I didn't see myself as a leader. Like, I just saw myself as just someone who just who works hard and tries to do her best. And that was period, right? But to be associated with like a leader and like, yeah, I get it. Like, yes, I was the cheerleading captain. So yeah, I've been a leader before, right? Like, and same like you, I started my first business, although it was just myself because I couldn't get anyone else to join me, as a 10-year-old when I was read the Babysitters Club, and I was like, oh, I want to start one of those. And I remember mapping out the business plan, like, let's get this Babysitters Club popping, and nobody would join me. I didn't have a Claudia or anybody, but so, like, it was just me. But yeah, no, I've been a leader, but for someone to like say, we're gonna give you that title, and also, I mean, truly like the responsibilities. And
wait, Akilah, Stephanie said it's on Netflix now if you need a flashback, girl.
Oh yeah, I've been watching.
Okay, all right.
Oh yeah, I was watching as soon as it dropped. I was like, ooh, yes, I remember. But it didn't matter that in various moments of my life, I had been a leader. Like, I still was concerned. And then also there was really, and I wrote this as a note, I struggled with the thought of transitioning from supporting leadership to becoming the leadership who needed support. I wasn't sure, like, if I knew how to be that person who would know how to relinquish stuff, and you know what I mean? I was just like, oh no, because I gotta make sure it's great, you know, it is done well. So it was real. And then also I want to lift up the struggles that I sometimes had, even in the fundraising world, like showing up to many of these gatherings and socials, and you know what I mean, and having to, you know, look a certain way, and you know, have this, you know, really intentional like small talk and all these things. Maybe I'm doing an interview. Love you. Sorry, it's my son. Headed off to work. But yeah, it was difficult, especially you start going into people's beautiful $1 million homes. I was just kind of like, ooh, I don't know. Don't mess up nothing. Don't touch nothing, Akilah. So no, I didn't feel like I was supposed to be in these spaces. I mean, honestly, as much as it was my job to be there, I just felt like, you know, I haven't graduated with my degree yet. Like, I'm still trying to figure this out. I'm a single mom out here, you know, just trying to figure it out. I've never been married, right? You know, I have people constantly, you know, like, oh, they ask about you, and, you know, my family, you know, oh, I saw your sons, and, you know, your husband, no, your ex-husband, no, you know. So it was always these kind of awkward moments that I had to overcome, and where I'll be like, is a sister like me supposed to be here? Even though I was there. Like, I still had those questions, and I still do. I still have that same sounding board that I reach out to, and they keep me encouraged. They're the ones who push me. I'm telling you, many of these media features that y'all are seeing, it's because of my cheerleaders, my tribe. If you don't have a tribe, like,
let's talk about that though. So as we talk about some strategies to leave it, and Corey, I saw your note about generational imposter syndrome. You've been trying to overcome it, and you wrote a paper. So if you guys want to check out Corey's thoughts on this, it's dearimposter.com. She put it in the chat. If we talk about strategies as we start to figure out our own imposter syndrome, it sounds like one of them is to have a tribe. you really had an unofficial board of advisors. And I think having a good, strong PR communication person, I don't care what role you're in, should always have that as part of your board or tribe. So the first strategy, if we think about how to deal with overcoming fears and doubts, is to have an unofficial board of advisors. And these are people that you can go to. And I'd say they're cheerleaders. They also going to tell you when it's a hot mess. I think you need people who are going to be very honest with you and say, it's not quite your time yet. Because there are times when you're not ready. And I think you want those people around you to say, you're not ready, but here, let's get you ready for it. But you also have those times you need the people who are going to push you, because you have your scope on your possibilities is still limited because of all the societal pressures and our own perfectionism. So an amazing tribe or unofficial board of advisors that you can start doing that now. Who are the 4 to 5 people in your life that are going to shoot it straight to you, but also gas you up when you need to? I think the second tip from hearing Akila's thoughts is identity and seeing things around you. It's important for you to surround yourself of where you're wanting to go. And as a marketer, one of the things I always tell people is, you're thinking about how to market your company, your brand, or yourself. If it's personal branding, you should be thinking about where you want to be 5 years from now, not marketing where you are, but where you're headed. And I think if you think, I may want to lead an organization one day, I may actually want to have my own business, it's so important to surround yourself with people who have actually done those things so that you can start to see what it looks and feels like to be a CEO or executive director. A lot of us don't know what it feels like. And so we have these questions, do I belong here? And you will realize that most CEOs, executive directors are in the same hot mess boat that you were in. A lot of them question their decision-making skills. And a lot of them are still trying to figure it out on their way too. But we think ourselves as being separate. And COVID, one of the things I will say I'm thankful for COVID is that it has been a great equalizer, and it showed us we're all trying to figure out Zoom. We're all don't know what's happening. We're all at the same level. In fact, a lot of times with the celebrities, I've had some projects where I just start shooting them notes because they're on Instagram all day long too. And I've heard back from several too, because they're sitting there watching the same IG live. So it's just interesting. So identification, surround yourself and where you're headed, and then get yourself a really good tribe. Akila, what other thoughts as you're where you're at now, and you try to navigate where you're headed to, what other thoughts can you share with us, or some other solutions that how do we figure out with, because doubts and insecure is always going to be there, but you still got to get your job done.
Yeah, so, and it's kind of connected to one of the points you were just making, especially about that tribe, or like when you're around people who kind of represent where you're trying to get to, don't make the assumption that they have it all figured out, because they have coaches too. They have teams too, no matter how high up they are. I'm sure Jamie Dimon, Oprah, everybody has a counselor, because your mental health is really important when you're responsible for holding so much, right? They likely have an executive coach or a mentor, or some 50, 60 years old. They probably have a 75, 80-year-old in their life, or just a peer, age-wise, or someone's just elevated in their success to lean on. So that is important. Don't make assumptions that everyone, is just out here floating by themselves. It truly does take connectivity and support in order to continue to grow and build, no matter what it is that you're trying to do. I would also, lift up to find ways to silence the noise and distractions. I'll say, the moments where like my anxiety is like the highest is, because I'm just trying to think about everything. I'm thinking about my family. I'm thinking about just even my finances personally. And then I'm thinking about, this organization and, the pandemic. And I mean, all of us, we always have like 50 million things just running through our minds. So you have to like intentionally find time and space to silence the noise. So, for some people that's, doing meditation. For others, it's, prayer. For some folks, it's just journaling, just sitting somewhere quietly, going into the park. Find whatever works for you. For me, mine is and there's actually an Instagram group I suggest everybody follow called the Nap Ministry. I have to get my sleep. And sometimes, like when I just feel really—
You mean like nap, like NAP?
Yeah, NAP. Go lay down. Shut it down. And I know for some people that's easier said than done, because you like, again, because I know I could lay down and still, my mind's still racing. Go ahead, get out that pen and pad, jot down everything. It doesn't have to be all organized in the outline. It can be just like a brainstorm. Get everything out your head. Drink tea, whatever you need to do. Play some, get these apps that play all the little wonderful sounds, or YouTube. I listen to a lot of those while I'm working. And just like go to sleep. I think often we just feel like we always have to be going and going, waking up early and late night, early mornings, Marsha and Brooks. No, that's not healthy. That's not good for us. So silence the noise and take care of yourself, as well as, be mindful of distractions. And I'm gonna be just honest out here, y'all. I've been single for a long time, in and out of relationships. And I've learned that I don't do well when like I'm on my trajectory.
This don't have to be a whole other conversation, Akilah. We're gonna have to do a part 2 on this one. I literally just had a conversation about this.
Yeah, so just be mindful.
So when you say distraction, you mean dates, people. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying be mindful of the way that like you manage relationships and how it can possibly be a distraction. For me, they would, one, because they just weren't the best, they weren't healthy, relationships. So yes, they were a distraction, right? But be mindful of distractions. Or it could be just like that lingering like financial issue that you just haven't addressed, right? So be mindful of distractions and do your best to try to remedy it. And don't feel like you got to go about it alone. Find a professional to assist you in whatever that specific thing is, and helping you to guide you and work through that so that you can focus your real time and energy towards what it is you're trying to accomplish. So
okay, and we have a couple of minutes left, so I always want to end with kind of a question that 1 Million Cups is a local community organization that I was co-organizing. And we always ask, what can the community do for you? So I want to end on that. But before we wrap up, want to kind of go over these points again. So silencing the noise and the distractions, managing your relationships is really important. If you don't have people gassing you up, it's around you, it's important to identify that they may be part of this fear, right? And sometimes, I hate to even keep it real, sometimes your biggest dreams and your aspirations, you need to be careful about who you share those with. And this is because people love you, by the way. If you're an entrepreneur or going for leadership, we know that right now, I think it's 2.5% of all CEOs are women. So you are striving to be a leadership role. If you're a woman, it's challenging in itself. If you're a person of color, same thing. Sometimes the people that love you are loving you from a place of fear, right? Because where you're headed to is unexpected. Entrepreneurship is usually about 1.5% of people that decide to do this full time. So people that love you sometimes are thinking from a place of fear. So you have to be careful about kind of the silencing the noise, as Akilah said, building out that tribe. I think that's a really big tool for you to think about. And sometimes your tribe is not going to be your friends. You are lucky and blessed if you can have a tribe that is also your friends. But sometimes your friends are just your friends, and sometimes this tribe is literally thinking about it as an official board of advisors that are going to push you when it's uncomfortable, but also cheerlead for you too. And sometimes your friends are not always in a place to do that, and it's not their job to do that. So if you can find individuals that can do both, you're very blessed to do so. And I think it's identification is surrounding yourself about where you want to go. I think the first thing though, as we talk about like breathing, think about where you want to go. This pandemic time is a time to think big. And it sounds weird to say that, but this is the time to think, if I could do anything, what would I want to do? There's no limits on where we want to go. And to know you have a tribe of support here to help you. You're not alone when you do it. Akilah, can you tell us what can we as a community do to help you right now? Now, as far as relationships, don't ever ask me about that. Don't ever. Like,
we've had happy hours over that.
Even still with the drinks, it's gonna get worse, right? Let's not. We both need to actually have a third person come in and talk to us, probably. But what can we as a community do to help you? And do you have any final points, as we've got just a few minutes left on our time with you? And thank you so much, by the way, for joining us. I love that you keep it real and talk to us about things. And I'm loving your shirt too. So, but how can we help you? How can we help you?
I mean, really, like, ultimately this shirt, I mean, if you can't see the whole thing, it's like won it, and it's like the well-behaved women seldom make history. And so it's all these incredible Black women who, in their, what would have, not real mugshots, but I mean, ideally, like you have to make good trouble, as our dear Representative John Lewis said. And so with that, I invite everyone to please join me in making good trouble and supporting Faith in Texas. I didn't really share a whole lot about it, but I mean, you can find us. We're everywhere. But also I included the link specifically for our Road to Liberation launch. We're having an incredible virtual event this Sunday that's really going to dive really deeply into the ways that people of all faith and no faith can get on board in the ways that we divest from systems of mass incarceration and other systems of white supremacy to ultimately move us all towards the full liberation of all Texans. So please go to the
we'll send the link out for sure when we send it. We'll send it out for you, Caleb.
Yeah, we got Brittany Barnett who's going to be giving our keynote. She's going to be fabulous.
Yeah.
And then also today is Give 828. This is Black Giving Day. So go to, I also gave the link directly to the Faith in Texas page. However, please go to give828.org. There are hundreds of nonprofits. That's obviously search for Dallas and look for any of the organizations that are here in the area. These are Black-led, Black benefiting nonprofit organizations. This is our Giving Day, opportunity to invest in Black leadership. Specifically, if you go to the Heritage Giving Funds page, we have all the links to the Black-led organizations that our Giving Circle has funded and their pages. So please support Black organizations, Black women's leadership, sow a seed, any amount is helpful. And just, yeah, join me in the movement. Like there's a lot of change that we can, that is happening, and this is our time. So please support me and reach out to me on, email, social media, anyway. And I love connecting with folks and just really building significant power and changing the game around who should be seen as a leader in this community. And it doesn't have to be packaged in any particular way. Come as your full self.
Thank you so much. We could keep talking forever, and I'm actually excited to see what the next couple of years have for you, Akilah. My gut is telling me this is a run for office. I'm feeling these vibes. I know you said that's the face you gave when they told you to do this too. I'm just telling you. I feel it. I feel something. I feel it. I feel something bigger for you. You just start, to me, you embody what it is you embody so much of our story. So I'm inspired by you. Joy, shouldn't she run for office? Thank you. You got a branding marketing person here to make the campaign off the chain, Akilah, okay? And give to 828. Thank you so much. I didn't know about this either, Stephanie. I'm excited to check this out, and I'll definitely go to the link. So we'll send an email out. If anyone has already hopped off, we'll send it out to everyone. Akilah, thank you so much for joining us. Everybody, please don't forget to take a little breath time for yourself today. Think about your board of unofficial advisors, who can be here to gas you up. And to know that fear is something that is going to be here and the doubts are going to be here. It's our job to navigate and keep it going. So you can do anything that you put your mind to it. And it's not going to be perfect, but you should hopefully have a tribe around you that'll help you keep going. So thank you all for joining me for another coffee. As always, we'll be here next Friday, same time, same place. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. See ya.